Sloths take once a week. This is the only time they need to leave their tree, and when they do it is pretty much a life or death situation as predators can easily catch them off guard while they are on the ground. In 2001, Angelina Jolie once hired a hitman to kill her because she felt a murder would be easier on the family than her committing suicide. The potential hitman talked her out of it by asking her to wait a month. Around the 18th century, pineapples were a sign of wealth in England. They were so expensive, you could rent them by the night and take them to parties with you as a status symbol. George Washington said before his death he would never set foot on English soil, so when they erected a statue of him in London, they put US soil under him. In 2006 in Portland, a man hired a hitman to kill his wife. However, his wife ended up restraining the hitman, saying, "Tell me who sent you and I will call you an ambulance." She then killed him. Hershey's doesn't meet the minimum cocoa content to be described as a chocolate in Britain. Elvis Presley was famously known for his jet black, slicked back hairstyle. However, Elvis was actually a natural blonde. Every 2 to 3 weeks he would dye his hair to his iconic black. When Britain's Queen Elizabeth visited the Game of Thrones set, she refused to sit on the Iron Throne because there is a law which forbids her from sitting on a foreign throne. One time firefighters saved piglets from a barn fire. 6 months later the farmer sent them sausages made from the piglets they saved as a thank you. When Jay-Z was 12, he shot his own brother for stealing his ring. Jay says after pulling the trigger he thought his life was over and he was going to jail. Donald Duck has a middle name, Fauntleroy. His middle name appears to be a reference to his sailor hat. Many countries end in Estan because Stan is an ancient Persian word that means land. There are 7 countries that end in such a way. Birds are not affected by spice, more specifically, capsaicin, the chemical that makes spicy peppers feel hot, so you can keep squirrels and other animals out of bird feeders by adding some hot peppers. Jellyfish, despite having no brain, still need to sleep. William Shatner sold his kidney stone for $25,000 which paid for the building of a house by Habitat for Humanity. All I Want for Christmas nets Mariah Carey $500,000 in royalties each Christmas. Years before she was famous, Keira Knightley played Natalie Portman's double in The Phantom Menace, and when the girls were in full makeup, even their mothers had trouble telling them apart. Thomas Jefferson was deist, the belief that a god created the universe but hasn't interfered with it since. There was a German architect who devoted his whole life to promote his grand scheme of damming and draining the Mediterranean to create vast amounts of land and to unite Europe and Africa into one supercontinent. 40% of the buildings in Manhattan could not be built today. If made today, the buildings would be shorter and less dense due to the zoning code. When a group of people laugh, people will instinctively look at the person they feel closest to in that group. The common English speaker has roughly 50,000 words within their mind and generally finds the correct one in approximately 600 milliseconds. The Code of Hammurabi decreed that bartenders who watered down beer would be executed. While filming The Wizard of Oz, 16-year-old Judy Garland was put on a strict diet that included smoking 80 cigarettes a day to suppress her appetite. Guam's jungles have as many as 40 times the amount of spiders as nearby islands due to a lack of forest birds. Buckfast, a caffeinated tonic wine, accounts for less than 0.5% of Scotland's total alcohol sales but is a factor in over 40% of arrests. An American man was arrested near the border of Afghanistan while hunting down Osama bin Laden with a sword. China killed off 2 AI chatbots after they start criticizing communism and praising the US. There's a service called Cleaning for a Reason in the US and Canada that cleans the houses of women with cancer for free so they can focus on their health. Patrick the Wombat, He was the world's oldest wombat at 32 years and died a virgin. He had a Tinder profile and rode around in a wheelbarrow. There is an organization that accepts donations of flash drives to smuggle ebooks and movies into North Korea to battle propaganda. Calling football soccer originated in Britain 200 years ago. It wasn't until the 1980s the name was phased out because it was thought to be too American. The Swiss Army Man directors had a dummy made up of Daniel Radcliffe, assuming he didn't want to do the weird, nude, farting stunts and lay around in dirt, but he loved it so much, he insisted on doing every scene. Eye of the Tiger was created to be the theme for Rocky 3 because Queen wouldn't give Sylvester Stallone the rights to use Another One Bites the Dust. After the last bucado, a wild goat species, died, scientists brought a clone to life, making the bucado the first species to become de-extinct. The clone died after 7 minutes, also making it the first species to go extinct twice. Michael Jackson's estate continues to allocate 20% of his posthumous earning to various charities, as specified in his will. The concept of the rap battle has existed since the 5th century, where poets would engage in flyting, a spoken word event where poets would insult one another in verse. To visit every child in the world, Santa Claus would need to travel at 3,000 times the speed of sound. Magnolia plants are so ancient that they are pollinated by beetles because they existed prior to bees appearing. A man with severe OCD and a phobia of germs attempted to commit suicide with a gun to his head. Instead of killing him, the bullet eliminated his mental illness without any other damage. Around 15% of active Twitter accounts are social bots. This means there are nearly 48 million accounts that are not controlled by humans. Asparagus takes 3 years to grow from seed to harvest. Graves became 6 feet deep as a result of the plague in 1665. Avril Lavigne's Girlfriend was the first YouTube music video to reach 100 million views, doing so back in 2008. A study from Harvard University found that having no friends can be as deadly as smoking. Half of European men share King Tut's DNA. There are over 350 different types of pasta, and about 4 times as many names for them. A bear that lives in the desert, the Gobi bear, Ursus arctos gobiensis, is a subspecies of brown bear that lives in Mongolia. Dragonflies are among the Earth's most efficient predators with a 95% catch rate of prey. The name Pez is an abbreviation of Pfefferminz, which is German for peppermint. The actual quote from Apollo 13 astronaut Jack Swigert is, "Okay Houston, we've had a problem here." 40 military musicians have been awarded the Medal of Honor. Dwayne Johnson set a new Guinness World Record for the most selfies taken in 3 minutes. He took 105 selfies with fans at his movie premiere for San Andreas. There was once a camel in North America with a neck like a giraffe. The author that gave us "It was a dark and stormy night" also gave us the almighty dollar, and the pen is mightier than the sword. The treadmill of the International Space Station is named after Stephen Colbert. Some NASCAR drivers wear diapers, but most don't, as the fibers of a diaper can catch fire, so they go pee-pee straight in their racing suits. In ancient Rome there was such a thing as bread fraud. Bread had to be branded as a result so the government knew who to punish. The phrase, "Beam me up Scotty," has never appeared in a single episode of Star Trek. The crab spider can change color to match the flower it waits on to ambush its prey. Michael Jackson went grocery shopping in a closed-down supermarket with all the other people being actors just to experience what's it like to be an ordinary person. Sea otters have pouches under their forearms. In one, usually the left, they like to keep their favorite rock. All Australians are legally entitled to a free portrait of the Queen. Tank silencers exist, and they're bigger than the tank itself. They cost $100,000 to build. A man was arrested for intentionally vomiting on an 11-year-old girl at a Philadelphia Phillies game. Philly cheesesteaks origins with two brothers creating lunch for themselves. The parent company of coffee pod maker Keurig merged with Dr. Pepper in 2018 and is now known as Keurig Dr. Pepper. Osama bin Laden briefly attended a Quaker high school in Lebanon. In Vermont, debaters are allowed to hold on to 1 cow, 2 goats and 3 swarms of bees from debt collectors. A day on Venus lasts longer than a year. It takes 243 Earth days to rotate on its axis once, but only 225 to rotate around the sun. While the blue whale is the largest animal to ever live on Earth, the smallest whale, the dwarf sperm whale, is not much bigger than a person. The Canadian province of Alberta has an entire hotline dedicated for rat sightings and ensuring the province remains rat-free. Buttered popcorn is the most popular jelly bean flavor in America. The cast of Breaking Bad became hooked on the fake meth they used to portray meth on the show. Alexander the Great never lost a battle. Peanuts are a fruit, and the only fruit that grows underground, root fruit. Founders of YouTube imagined it as a dating site and they even had a slogan for it: tune in, hook up. Over 120 USPS mail trucks have caught on fire within the past 5 years. In the American Mafia, one of the 8 rules is you cannot have facial hair. Walruses can give themselves oral along with a few other animals. When you receive a bone marrow transplant, your blood's DNA matches the donor's for the rest of your life. In China, Santa Claus is often depicted with a saxophone and no one seems to know why. Sharon Tate dreamed her death 2 years before she was murdered. Although Kanye West repeatedly refers to himself as a billionaire, professional estimates can't find anything more than $240 million. In 2004, Scientology embarked on a top-secret project which involved finding a girlfriend for Tom Cruise. Osama bin Laden had a Charlie bit my finger video on his computer when his compound was raided.